80% of people who lose a significant amount of weight end up putting all that weight back on and sometimes even put more weight on than they started with. Answer these two simple questions in this video to see if you're more likely to be like the 80% or if you could be one of the few who actually keeps it off. Question one is, welcome back to Case by Case Training. My name is Ben Case. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe because on this channel, you're going to learn how to maintain results that you get after losing weight, which is overlooked in much of the health and fitness industry. A big focus is on the weight loss, but there's not much focus on how to keep it off. And that's the topic we're going to be covering today. And we have two questions to ask to see whether you're going to be more likely to keep that weight off or not. And then obviously try to help you to be more likely to keep the weight off. Now, before we dive in, I have a different question. This isn't one of the two questions we're going to be asking, but if someone wanted to run a marathon, that was their goal. They wanted to start training, get in shape, and be able to run a marathon. Would it make much sense for them to go and start looking for programs on how to, let's say, build 20 pounds of muscle? And they go ahead and they find a program and they purchase it and they start doing that program, expecting it to help them with training for a marathon. That wouldn't make much sense, would it? The solution that they've chosen does not align with the goal that they have. And we could easily conclude that that individual either does not really know what they want or they're simply just looking for the wrong solution for the problem that they're trying to solve. Whether it be because they were misinformed or misled or any other number of reasons. Now, this is a pretty obvious example that probably seems quite silly. However, when you don't think your goals through very deeply, and you're not really fleshing out what it is you're trying to accomplish, it can be easy to start looking for the wrong kinds of solutions to the problem. And it might not be as obvious as the example I just gave, but you can still end up wasting a lot of time, money, and effort on something that really isn't going to produce the results that you're hoping for. And one of the reasons some of the solutions that you try don't help you reach your goals is because there's actually a conflict of interest where they're actually working against your goals in some ways. So if you haven't determined what your main goals are, and I don't just mean how much weight you want to lose or the fact that you want to lose weight, I want to know more specifically, why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to lose the amount of weight you want to lose? What do you think that's going to bring you? What are your deeper goals and things you're trying to accomplish? Because we want to make sure that the solutions aren't going to conflict with those other things, even if it might be able to help you lose some weight. So if you haven't thought that deeply through those things, I have a 4-part video series that I'm right in the middle of creating still that's intended to help you think on those issues. In the series, I take you all the way from contemplating whether or not you want to really get started and if it's worth it to start losing weight, getting in shape, all those different questions you might have at the beginning, all the way to the end where we're maintaining the results that you've gotten and achieved. So if you'd like to check that out, it'll be in the description below. However, we're going to jump straight into question number one. Question one is, would you rather lose weight very, very fast, but have to work very, very hard at it? We're talking super intense, really tough workout program, really demanding, and also really intense diet. Would you rather do that and get fast results? Or would you rather have a more simple routine, something that isn't super demanding, can kind of fit in with your life, but it's going to take a lot longer to get the results? Probably at least 3 times as long to get the same results that you would get from the more intense program. Both of them are going to have the same end result. You're going to lose the same amount of weight. You're going to reach your goal, whatever that might be. It's just a simple matter of this one's going to be faster, but harder. This one's going to be simpler, but take longer. So think about it for a minute and really be honest with yourself. Think it through and decide which one would I probably sign up for? Which one sounds more appealing and would grab me? All right, your answer to that question alone isn't going to really tell us much. However, in combination with the next question, it will tell us some things. And listen, there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer here. It's just a matter of which is true of you. So question 2 is, are you a super disciplined person who is patient, who will likely stick with something long term? Or do you really struggle with discipline? Will you have a difficult time being patient and likely not stick with something long term, even if you might have the motivation to get started with it? You're going to struggle to stick with it and probably won't. Now, I know that's a little vague because I'm not telling you what kind of thing you're trying to stick with. And maybe you have more discipline in some areas versus others, depending on what it is that you're doing. However, in general, are you disciplined, or is it kind of, well, it depends. Is it enjoyable? Is it fun? Is it something I really want to do? If it's not, I probably won't stick with it. I probably won't be very patient with it. That's the question. So I know I'm not giving you a specific scenario, but that is part of the answer. If you kind of have to say, well, it really depends on what it is, then probably more so on the side of, no, not necessarily. I'm not going to be as disciplined as maybe someone over here. And again, there's not a right or wrong answer here. This isn't about like, obviously we all might like to say we're more disciplined and be that way, and that might be a goal. But if it's just not where you're at, that's okay at this point. We want to be honest with yourself and give the answer that's actually true for you. Knowing yourself and being able to answer questions like these honestly and not be offended by them is going to help you to make change and help you start seeing results. In fact, if you're not a very disciplined person and you can admit that, that's the first step to becoming a more disciplined person. But if you kind of are in denial about it and you're just answering maybe dishonestly with yourself, then you're probably not going to take the proper steps to improve upon it. And part of the reason that's true is because of the example I gave at the beginning. You're going to likely be choosing wrong solutions for the problem that you have because you're not looking for the right solution because you're kind of in denial. So be honest. This takes some self-awareness, and I know that, and it's not always easy to do that with ourselves, but it is going to help you in the long run. Now, there's only 4 possible combinations of answers that you could have given. And all 4 of them, if answered honestly, will tell me and you if you're going to be more likely to stick with your weight loss journey and maintain the results long term or not. So let's go ahead and break each possible answer down. Possible answer number 1 is that you would rather lose weight fast, you'd rather get quick results, and work really, really hard at it. And you're also a very disciplined individual. And so those 2 things in combination are likely going to result in you getting results and keeping them. Possible answer number 2 is that you'd like to take a slower, more simple approach, and you understand it's going to take longer to get the results, but you're also still a very disciplined individual. And so again, you will likely be able to keep the results that you get from that program. Now, you may think that where this is going is that keeping weight off is completely dependent on whether you're disciplined or not. And certainly discipline is important. However, that doesn't mean that anybody who doesn't have discipline can't possibly keep results, or that there's no hope for them to be able to keep results. Yes, it will likely be easier for the more disciplined individual to keep the results. And that's just how it works and how it is. However, possible answer number 3 is that you would like to go a little slower and simple, an easier program that's going to be more maintainable and work with your schedule and your lifestyle, and you're not very disciplined. That individual still will likely keep the results, and I'm going to explain why. But before I do, the option that leaves you most likely to not keep the results that you've achieved is the fast results, the desire to get quick results and to work really hard and to do something that's very difficult and challenging, but you're not very disciplined. And honestly here, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but why would someone who's not very disciplined or struggles to stay consistent and to stay disciplined, why would they think an accelerated course is going to be a good idea? If you've never ran a marathon, you should probably do the 9-month training plan that really, really builds you up to it and takes time to get you there, not the 4-week accelerated version. That's super intense and super difficult, probably meant for people who just ran a marathon not that long ago. Listen to me. If you struggle to stay disciplined, if you know I have a hard time sticking with workout programs or sticking with diets, don't lie to yourself. Be honest with yourself about that. That's going to be your first and most important step towards finally getting long-term results. And listen, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm not coming down hard on you and telling you, you just got to be more disciplined. No, that's not going to help you at all. And coming down on yourself isn't going to help you at all. The thing that's going to help you is to choose the solution that is going to gradually help you become more disciplined. That's actually going to help you to get results and keep them long term. That's going to be what helps you. But unfortunately, the health and fitness industry just thinks that you just need to do better. You just need to be more disciplined. And they keep trying to give the same solution that's not working for people and expecting a different result. Let me just give you a quick illustration. I've played soccer my entire life, started kicking a ball around when I was 1 year old and never stopped. That is until I tore my ACL and both my meniscus at the age of 24, and I had to have surgery. And I'm now 30 and I've had 2 surgeries on the same knee since that time when I injured it. And honestly, it's just never been the same for me. Now, if I decided I wanted to get back into playing soccer and I was starting to really work at it and trying to get back to playing in a rec league, I might go into it thinking, I'm going to sign up for the A team, which the A team's typically the good team, the best team. I'm going to sign up for the A team. I used to play on the A team. I could come up with all these different reasons. You know, it's going to push me to be better and to do well. And maybe I'm even hearing that from the outside. Maybe other people are saying, oh yeah, you can do it and you got this. It's just going to make you, push harder and you just got to suck it up and be a man. And I might have all that external pressure. I might put pressure on myself that, yeah, I've got to, I can do this and I can push myself and I just got to be disciplined and blah, 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 blah. And it's really easy for someone, by the way, who hasn't gone through what you've gone through to say, just suck it up. You can do it. Just be disciplined. Just work harder. But all that's going to do, if I sign up for the A team, it's going to really frustrate me. I'm going to get very discouraged. I'm going to compare myself to everybody else out there and feel like I'm inadequate. And I'm probably going to get hurt again, honestly. And it's just not going to be a good time. And I'm going to struggle and I'm going to hate it. And sure, it might be building some endurance and all that along the way. I might be getting my touch back a little bit. And I could convince myself that those are enough reasons to do this. But I'm probably going to burn out and eventually give up. Now, on the other hand, if I join the over 30 C team and do something that's a little more appropriate for the pace that I'm currently at, and I try to work my way back into it, I'm going to get a lot less discouraged. There might be times where I feel like, oh, I should be further along than this. Man, I wish I was on the A team. I get all that. Maybe I'll work my way up to it. And it's a lot more likely that that will happen if I start where I need to, start where I'm at, and slowly work up to it. But I have to cut out all the noise around me, all the voices that are trying to tell me, you got to do better, you got to be better. I've got to cut out my own voices that are saying that as well, and just realize that it's okay to start where you need to start. It's okay to not be at the end goal. You're not running the marathon day one. It's okay to get out there and just walk on the first day. And the reason that answer number 3 that we talked about earlier works, the reason you don't need to be a super disciplined individual starting out in order to keep the results, is because when you start out slow, when you start where you're able to, and you're not so fixated on an end date, you're not fixated on quickly getting to this body weight or this result, but instead are focused on just being consistent, just sticking with it, showing up for practice, doing what you need to do day in and day out. And yeah, it's going to be a lot simpler. You might not feel like you're doing as much. You might at times feel like, I should be further along, and all those little doubts are going to creep in. But sticking with it, even if it's simple, is going to build trust with yourself. It's going to be something that's manageable for you, and you don't need to compare yourself to anyone else and what they're doing. And you're going to be a lot less likely to burn out and give up. Also, a little side note, the people around you who are getting these crazy fast results that you're seeing advertised all the time, they're in that 80%. And so the problem is you're seeing the good side of what looks good. Hey, they lost weight this fast. This person lost weight that fast. Here's what they did. I want to do that too. And you're not seeing that, oh, they put it all back on. They actually put more back on in the next several months. And so the full story isn't being told. If you can stick with something simple for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, guess what you're building along the way? Just like you're going to build endurance as you're continuing to do more workouts, you're continuing to up the intensity slightly. Just like if I start in the C team, I'm going to slowly be building and I'm going to be getting better and better and better. But you're also going to be building discipline. And as you build discipline, you can build the intensity. You can increase how intense you're pushing yourself and still stick with it because you're a more disciplined individual now. But you have to go in the right order. You've got to build the discipline first, And then you can start doing things a little more intense. You can start doing a little faster programs. And that's why there are programs out there that are fast results and all these things, and people do stick with them, but they're usually people who are very disciplined to start, like we talked about from answer number 1. And so if that's not you, that's not the solution for you. And just because it works for that person who's really disciplined, the health and fitness industry thinks that's the solution for everybody. And we're going to push it on people and just tell them, you know what, you just got to be more disciplined and this will work for you. Well, I'm not more disciplined, so it doesn't work for me. I need something that's going to help me grow in that discipline so that it can work for me. And another thing to consider is that as you build that endurance and you build that discipline and you get in better shape, when you eventually work up to doing a more intense program and a faster program, it's also not going to feel as intense. It's not going to feel as difficult. It's going to be easier for you because you've built that endurance, just like running that marathon. And so the other issue is when you start there on day 1, it's significantly harder. And so the person who's in shape and is saying, hey, do this program that I do because look at me and look what I have, that's not where they started, right? And if you're trying to do that on day 1, of course you're going to burn out. Of course you're going to hate it and be exhausted and get hurt and all the other things that come with it. And so building up to that, it's not going to feel as difficult. It's going to be a lot simpler because you're going to be in better shape. You're going to be more disciplined. It's going to be easier to stick with and all the other things. And this doesn't just apply for the exercise side of things. This is also true for all the nutritional side of things. It's better always to slowly work into it, to do what you can handle and manage, to start and work your way to more intense, more healthy, more, cutting more things out, being a little more restrictive, being a little bit more health conscious as you go is going to be a lot more likely to stick than just trying to start there on day 1. But you have to know yourself and you have to be honest with yourself. So I want to wrap it up with this. If you are just naturally a very disciplined person, or maybe you've built your discipline over time, you likely could do just about any diet, exercise program, whatever it is that exists. And as long as it puts you in a calorie deficit, even if it's hard, you're going to get results and you're going to be able to stick with it. And so it's kind of just your pick, honestly. But just because someone who's extremely disciplined can get results with something doesn't mean it's the solution for you if you do struggle with discipline. And the answer definitely isn't just to tell yourself to suck it up or let someone else who's done that program and was disciplined with it to tell you to suck it up and just be a more disciplined person. It just doesn't work that way. Discipline takes practice. But the answer also isn't to just throw in the towel, to get discouraged and say nothing works and throw up your hands. You just need to choose a path that lines up, that aligns, the solution aligns with the problem. The solution aligns with where you're starting at, your level of discipline, where are you at right now, and what can you handle starting out? What's going to be reasonable for you? What will you be able to stick with? And if it's very, very, very little, if you're like, I don't know if I can stick with hardly any change, any little thing I do, it's hard to stick with. Well, you need to start as minimal as possible then. And you might think, oh, but that's going to take forever. Well, you know what's going to take longer is if you don't get started with it today, and you keep pushing it off, and you keep trying these fast track solutions that feel like they're working because they get you really fast results, but then you don't stick with them because you're never going to truly keep the results. If you just start today and start taking those steps in the right direction slowly and build on them over time, and you do have to keep building on them, you do have to keep adding a little bit more, but even though that's going to take longer, it's going to be faster because you're actually going to get the results and keep them for the long term. Now, you're still going to need structure to do this. You're going to need a plan. You're going to need accountability for sure. And so it's not that, hey, just because you're taking it slower, it's an automatic. You still need those other things in place as well. But having a structured plan and accountability that's designed in a way that intentionally is trying to build the discipline and intentionally meeting you where you're at and then taking you slowly in the right direction is going to be what you need to look for. It's the solution to your problem. Now, if you'd like a little more help with figuring out what that might look like, again, I'd recommend going through my 4-part series because I do go through all the different steps to take to make a program that's going to align with your goals, align with your discipline level, and start helping you get results in a way that's going to be maintainable long term for you. You'll be able to find that video series right up here. So go ahead and check that out. But make sure to like this video and comment below what you found the most helpful in it. Definitely don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's it for this one. I will see you in the next one.